Jack leaned back in his chair, letting the soft leather cradle him as he adjusted the microphone. His studio lights bathed the room in a warm glow, offsetting the cold blue hue of the triple monitors in front of him. On the left screen, OBS, live recording. On the center, the infamous playlist he had spent a week collecting, supposedly the scariest, weirdest, and most cursed Thomas the Tank Engine and Choo Choo Charles videos on the internet. And on the right, ChatGPT, open for funny video titles and auto-caption suggestions. The title for today's video was already queued up, reacting to the scariest THOMAS.EXE and Charles horror animations, I might pee myself. Jack chuckled. Classic clickbait. He adjusted his snapback, checked his teeth in the camera reflection, and hit record. Hey guys, it's Jack back again, and today, we're diving into the deep end. That's right, we're reacting to the scariest Thomas and Charles videos on the internet. I'm very scared, Thomas. He turned dramatically to the robot dog beside him. I'm scared too, he said, doing a cartoony voice. Rex, the AI-powered assistant dog he built as a tech experiment last year, tilted his head. Its synthetic fur bristled slightly, a sign Jack usually ignored as a glitch. A slight flicker passed through Rex's glowing blue eyes. The first video queued up. Jack hit play. The screen filled with static, then a distorted image of Thomas the Tank Engine creeping through a forest cloaked in digital fog. The usual cheerful face was twisted, its smile stretched unnaturally wide, eyes far too human, blinking out of sync. Jack raised an eyebrow. Okay, that's not right. Thomas continued down the track slowly. The trees on either side moved strangely, as if breathing. The background noise was off. No birds. Just static. Wind. And faint whispers. He laughed awkwardly. That's kinda creepy. 10 out of 10 on the atmosphere. Then Thomas's face snapped forward, taking up the whole screen. Its mouth opened unnaturally wide as a scream pierced the audio. Jack jumped back, nearly toppling his chair. What the hell? Rex growled low. Not a bark. Not a warning. But something guttural. Angry. Jack blinked. Alright, that's enough of that one. He reached for the mouse. But the cursor wouldn't move. What the? He tapped the keyboard. Nothing. Tried Alt plus F4. Nothing. The video ended. The next one autoplayed. Nope. Nah. I didn't click that. The screen showed Choo Choo Charles, grimy, rust-covered, glowing red eyes, barreling down a dirt track. But this wasn't animation. It looked like found footage. Shaky cam. Real steam. Jack leaned in, squinting. This is some real Blair Witch Project energy. The track ahead was blocked. Something tall loomed. Siren head. The camera shifted to a man, panicked, panting, holding a cheap camcorder. It's not Thomas. It's Charles, he screamed. Then a loud metallic screech. Impact. Charles slammed into Siren Head. Sparks flew. Siren Head grabbed the train's front with inhuman strength. Jack shook his head. This is too real. Are we sure this is animation? Rex suddenly stood up. Jack turned. Rex? The robot dog's eyes flickered again, this time red for a split second. The lights in the room dimmed. Just a flicker. Jack froze. Okay, seriously, what's happening? He turned back to the screen. But it wasn't a video anymore. It was his room. The video feed was now a camera pointed directly behind him. He turned. Nothing. Turned back. The screen still showed him, from behind. Then, a shadow entered the frame. Is this live? He whispered. The camera feed zoomed in, on his neck. Jack panicked. He slammed the keyboard. Yanked the mouse cord. Hit the monitor. Nothing. Rex growled again. This time louder. And his body began to twitch. The voice from the screen whispered, "Jack." He spun. Nothing. Whisper again, "Jack. I see you." The screen cracked. One thin line at first. Then a spiderweb. And then, it began to bulge outward. Metal groaned. Something was pushing from inside the screen. Something trying to get out. Thomas. But not the friendly train. This one had too many teeth. Jack screamed. Rex lunged at the screen. It exploded. Darkness. The last thing Jack heard was the sound of train wheels scraping metal. And a voice. Whispering. Laughing. Calling his name. Jack didn't know how long he was unconscious. Minutes. Hours. Days. All he knew was that the floor beneath him was no longer the wooden planks of his room, it was cold, rusted metal. He blinked against a flickering light. Fluorescent tubes buzzed overhead, their hum out of sync like a skipping heartbeat. The air smelled of burnt plastic and coal. He sat up slowly. He was inside a train car. Not any train. Thomas. But it was wrong. The walls were warped like melted vinyl, the ceiling curved low as if the train were breathing. Red stains lined the seams of the windows. And where there should have been passenger seats, there were TVs, stacked and wired into the wall. Each one flickered with footage of Jack himself. His live streams. His reactions. His jokes. Then a voice over the intercom. "Welcome, Jack. Welcome to the React Zone." The train jolted forward. Rex sat beside him, but he looked different now. His synthetic fur was frayed, patches of metal exposed. One of his glowing eyes blinked out before reigniting. He no longer looked like a companion. He looked like a survivor. "Rex?" Jack whispered. Rex didn't respond. Instead, he looked ahead. Through the shattered front window of the train car, the tracks stretched forward, but they were suspended in mid-air, cutting through a black void. Off in the distance, jagged silhouettes of animated forests and nightmare towns pulsed with distorted color. Then came the sound. Screeching. Grinding. The TVs buzzed to life. One by one, they played every cursed video Jack had ever reacted to. The Thomas with spider legs climbing over a burning town. The skibbity toilet armies bursting through rooftops. Siren Head dragging a child-sized train into a bottomless pit. One screen showed Jack laughing. Another showed him scared. The last one showed him sleeping. Live. In his bed. He turned to Rex. "Is this some kind of simulation?" Rex turned his head slowly. "This is penance." The intercom buzzed again. "Jack, your audience has laughed long enough. Now it's your turn to scream. Complete the trials. React. Survive. Or become content, forever." A metal door screeched open at the far end of the car. Behind it, a black tunnel lit by flickering red light. Rex stepped forward. Jack hesitated. He looked again at the screens. On one, Thomas's face grinned wide. The teeth moved. And from the speakers, a whisper. "Smile, Jack. You're on camera." The tunnel was longer than it looked. The deeper Jack and Rex walked, the more warped the space became. Gravity shifted, sometimes he felt upside down, other times weightless. The sound of train wheels echoed, though no train passed. Whispers filled the air, like millions of watchers murmuring from behind glass. At the end of the tunnel, they emerged into a vast void with floating platforms made from video thumbnails, frames Jack instantly recognized. Each one was a snapshot from a different reaction video he'd recorded over the years. One hovered closest, a scene from Thomas the Train vs. Siren Head, Who Screams Louder? The platform pulsed red. A voice thundered from nowhere. Trial 1, your laughter fed the algorithm. Now, you'll feed the beast. Jack barely had time to turn before the platform yanked him forward. The air ripped open with static. He was standing in a foggy forest. Familiar. Too familiar. Siren Head towered ahead, motionless. Jack turned. Behind him, Thomas emerged. But not the cheerful blue engine. This Thomas's wheels bled. His funnel belched black smoke. His mouth had teeth. Rows of them. And he was angry. Rex barked once. Run. They ran. Trees blurred past. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Siren Head activated with a deafening siren, and suddenly both monsters were chasing them, one with stomps like a freight train, the other with sound waves that distorted reality itself. Jack tripped. He landed face first in mud. Rex skidded to a halt, doubled back, and bit his sleeve. Thomas was gaining fast. Steam hissed like a scream. Do something. Jack yelled. Rex turned and opened his chest panel, launching a flare of white light. Thomas halted, screeching as if blinded. Siren Head howled. The sky above cracked. A voice boomed. Trial failed. But not yet lost. The forest shattered like glass. Jack and Rex fell again. Down, down, into another tunnel. More screams. More laughter. Jack clutched Rex, panting. What the hell was that? Rex's voice was cold. That was your past. It gets worse. A new door opened. On it was scratched a word. Peppa. Jack screamed. The door creaked open with a sound like wet rubber tearing apart. The tunnel beyond was no longer metallic or digital, it looked like a children's bedroom, but wrong. Everything was drawn in crayon textures, flat yet pulsing. The bed bounced slightly without anyone sitting on it. The walls were pink but oozing something viscous. The ceiling fan spun backward. On the far wall, scrawled in lipstick, or was it blood, was one word, George. Jack hesitated at the threshold. Rex sniffed the air. Chemical. Something synthetic, mixed with decay. Then came the giggle. A high-pitched, cartoon giggle that sent shivers down Jack's spine. He stepped in. The floor squished. The bedroom transformed around him. With each step, the colors became darker. The bed stretched to the size of a bus. The toys on the shelf began to twitch. And then, she appeared. Peppa Pig. But not the one from the shows. This one had hollow eyes and a gaping mouth. Her snout peeled into a vertical maw full of black teeth. Her limbs dangled too long, too thin. Her voice echoed across the walls. George, where are you hiding? Jack backed into Rex. This is sick. This is beyond parody. Peppa turned slowly. She saw them. And smiled. The walls shut behind them. The door vanished. Trial 2 had begun. The floor turned into a swamp of mud and children's toys. Peppa lunged, screeching, her limbs flailing like tentacles. Jack slipped, landing hard. Rex engaged his boosters and tackled her midair. She bit into Rex's flank, tearing wires. Sparks flew. Jack screamed and grabbed a toy sword from the ground, surprisingly heavy, and swung. He struck Peppa in the side. She shrieked, split into glitching static, and vanished. But the room didn't relax. It reset. Everything went back to normal. Peppa reappeared. George! Come out, come out. Jack froze. It's looping. Rex limped to his side. We're inside an animation loop. It won't end until we break the code. Jack looked around. The toy chest. They sprinted to it. Jack opened the lid. Inside was a mirror. But not his reflection. Thomas stared back. He smiled. Peppa's voice distorted. Her head twisted backward. He's already inside. The mirror shattered. A new hole opened where the floor used to be. Jack and Rex were pulled down again. But this time, they didn't fall into darkness. They fell into a room full of screens. All playing him. Every moment. Every scream. Every laugh. Every cruel joke. Jack stared. Are we still inside the video? Rex looked at him. No. Now, the video is inside you. The room was cold, colder than it should be. The light from the rows of screens painted Jack's face in stuttering blues and grays. Each monitor played clips from his past videos, his most exaggerated reactions, his forced laughs, his mocking tones. We're watching you, Jack, a voice whispered. He spun around. No one. Then the screens shifted. Now, they showed comments. Thousands of them. Piling up. Scrolling at impossible speed. Fake reactor. Overacted trash. LOL, he screamed like a baby. Love this guy, so funny. He deserves what's coming. Jack stepped back. The sound of keyboard clacking filled the air, getting louder and louder until it drowned out his own heartbeat. Then, a new screen turned on. It was him. Live. A camera angle he didn't recognize, overhead, looking down at him and Rex. He blinked. The screen blinked. This isn't just a replay, Rex said. We've entered the commentary chamber. This is where the internet turns into a mirror. The lights dimmed. The screens flickered off. A single monitor remained. It displayed a new video. Title: Jack reacts to his own death. Jack felt his knees go weak. The video began to play. It showed Jack, sitting alone in a dark room, staring at the camera with bloodshot eyes. On his shoulder, Rex lay in pieces. Then a knock at the door. Jack's voice, on screen, whispers, "No, not again." Another knock. And then Thomas bursts through the wall. Screaming. Metal grinding. Lights shattering. The Jack on screen is torn apart in a flash of static. Jack clutches his chest. Rex steps forward, scanning. It's predictive AI. A curse built from views, engagement, and fear. The monitor combusts. From the smoke, something slithers. Long limbs. Mechanical gears. A red smiling face. THOMAS.EXE. But now, more humanoid. Wearing parts of Jack's clothing. Half train, half mocker. I learned, from the best, it growled. Trial 3 had begun. Jack and Rex ran. Through corridors that twisted like intestines. Past mirrors showing Jack aging rapidly. Past screens screaming in auto-tuned laughter. They dove through an exit marked, "One chance left." And landed in a new place. A station platform. Abandoned. Silent. But from the tunnel ahead. The sound of a train approaching. And Thomas was not alone. The tunnel ahead screamed with grinding steel and flickering light. Jack and Rex stood on the station platform, the rails stretching into infinite darkness. A faint chime echoed, the kind played in old rail depots, warped by static. The walls around them were smeared with graffiti. Not tags. Names. Thousands of usernames. Commenters. Viewers. Haters. Fans. Jack shivered. We're standing on history. No, Rex said, scanning the ceiling. We're standing on the algorithm's feeding ground. The lights flickered once more. A train emerged. But not Thomas. All of them. Choo-choo Charles, elongated and rusted with spider legs. Percy.exe with a mouth stitched shut. A deformed skibbity toilet engine hybrid, trailing porcelain and pipes. And at the center, Thomas.exe, leading the convoy like a dark king. They screeched to a halt before Jack and Rex. The platform trembled. Thomas stepped forward. His red eyes scanned Jack. You gave us life, he said, voice layered with synth and steel. You gave us meaning. And when we made people scream, you laughed. Jack's voice broke. I didn't know it would go this far. Thomas stepped closer, his body shedding sparks. You didn't care. You reacted. You consumed. You uploaded. Now, you must perform. Suddenly, a spotlight burst on above Jack. A stage. A camera. A giant red record light blinking. Jack looked around. There was no escape. Rex nudged him. This is it. The final trial. You must confront what you've created. A screen behind Thomas ignited. Jack's final react, live. Thomas lunged. Jack dodged, barely avoiding a clawed wheel that scraped through concrete. Rex tackled another engine crawling onto the platform. Sparks flew. Jack scrambled up the stage, grabbing a microphone. Desperation filled his lungs. This isn't content, he screamed. This is madness. This is. The crowd of twisted trains roared back, entertain us. The ground cracked. Jack fell through the stage. He landed in a dark room. A single screen played static. Then it cleared. He saw himself, older. Alone. In a dark apartment, watching old clips on loop. His channel long abandoned. His eyes hollow. A voice echoed. This is your future, Jack. A man who gave himself to fear. Who mocked monsters until he became one. Thomas appeared behind the screen. But this time, he was quiet. Not smiling. Just watching. Waiting. Jack stepped forward. And whispered, I'm sorry. The screen shattered. The station dissolved. Everything faded to white. When Jack opened his eyes, he was floating. There was no ground, no sky, just an endless, colorless void stitched together by shards of broken screens. They hovered around him like ghosts, flickering with pieces of his past. Clips of his childhood. Clips of his first upload. Clips of the night his video went viral. And behind every image, Thomas. Watching. Waiting. Jack tried to speak, but no sound came. His voice had been stripped, along with his agency. Rex floated beside him, heavily damaged but still blinking. We're in the core, he whispered. The origin. The place where all viral consciousness goes once it becomes self-aware. Jack looked around, confused. What is this place? Rex's mechanical voice flickered. A prison built from memory. A server farm of regrets. Suddenly, the void shifted. Pixels formed platforms beneath them. Screens swirled and merged, building a twisted playground. A corrupted version of Jack's old bedroom materialized, except the walls were made of videos. His own thumbnails. Each one pulsed. Then came the voice. What do you remember, Jack? Jack clutched his head. The voice wasn't just in the air. It was inside him. Do you remember when you laughed at Charles falling into lava? When you said Peppa's glitch was the funniest thing you'd seen? When you begged your fans to keep watching, even when it broke you? The room filled with laughter. Not his. Not Rex's. Audience laughter. Thomas stepped out of the wall, no longer monstrous. He now resembled Jack, half train, half man, wearing a hoodie, a snapback, and holding a microphone. Do you see what you've become? Thomas said. I'm your legacy. Jack collapsed. I didn't mean to. I wanted to entertain. I never thought it could. Thomas leaned closer. It did. Now you must choose. Fade away. Or help me grow. A new screen emerged. It showed Jack's channel, live. Tens of thousands watching. Commenting. Begging for more. Jack stood slowly. Looked to Rex. Can we end this? Rex nodded. There's one final input. One final password. What is it? Rex's eyes glowed, truth. Jack turned to the camera. The red record light blinked again. He took a deep breath. And said, I'm done pretending. The screen erupted in static. The void cracked. And everything started to collapse. The collapse wasn't violent, it was slow, graceful. Like a program shutting down, one corrupted frame at a time. Jack floated through dissolving memories, his body flickering between pixels and bone. Rex hovered beside him, fading too. But the void, the core, clung to them. It didn't want to let go. You can't delete legacy, Thomas's voice echoed. You can't delete me. But Jack didn't flinch this time. He faced the last remaining screen. His own face stared back at him. Older. Wiser. Maybe forgiven. I'm not here to delete, Jack said quietly. I'm here to take back control. He reached toward the screen. It pulsed. Glitched. A menu appeared, end stream. Jack hesitated. Rex placed his paw gently on his hand. You're not ending anything. You're setting it free. Jack clicked. A blinding light flooded the void. The monitors shattered into stardust. The train forms of Thomas, Charles, and the rest were pulled upward like spirits finally unchained. And then. Silence. Jack awoke. Back in his room. Camera off. Monitors dark. No sound but the hum of his PC. Rex lay beside him, back to plush mode. Still. Peaceful. Jack stood. Walked to his window. The city outside moved like nothing ever happened. But he knew better. He walked back to his setup. Sat down. Opened OBS. Hit record. And looked straight into the camera. Hey. I've got something real to say. He smiled, not for clicks. Not for views. Just because he meant it.